There is a pattern that Sigmund Freud observed in his patients that disturbed him deeply, a pattern so common, so seemingly irrational, that it challenged everything people believed about human motivation. The pattern was this: people hurt themselves, not physically, though sometimes that too, but emotionally, repeatedly, compulsively. They sabotage relationships that are going well. They destroy opportunities that could change their lives. They reject love when it's offered. They pursue people who treat them badly while pushing away people who treat them well. They create suffering where none needs to exist. And when you ask them why, they have no answer. They don't want to be unhappy. They're not trying to sabotage themselves. They genuinely want things to work out. But somehow, over and over, they end up hurting themselves. And Freud understood something that most people still don't grasp. This is not accidental. This is not bad luck. This is not a character flaw. This is the psyche doing something very specific. This is repetition compulsion. And until you understand why you do this, until you see the function it serves, you will keep hurting yourself for the rest of your life. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. You are hurting yourself on purpose. Not consciously, not deliberately, but at an unconscious level, you are choosing to create suffering. You are sabotaging your own happiness. You are rejecting opportunities for genuine connection and fulfillment. And you're doing this because, at some deep level, this suffering serves a function. It protects you from something even more terrifying than the pain you're creating. It keeps you in familiar territory even when that territory is miserable. It allows you to maintain an identity even when that identity is built on wounds. It gives you control over pain that feels inevitable by ensuring you're the one inflicting it rather than waiting for someone else to do it. Freud called this the repetition compulsion. It's the tendency to recreate painful situations from your past, not because you're masochistic, not because you enjoy suffering, but because your psyche is trying to master the original trauma. It's trying to replay the scenario and get a different outcome. It's saying, this time I'll be good enough. This time I'll earn the love. This time I'll prevent the abandonment. This time I'll be able to control what I couldn't control as a child. But you can't. The repetition never resolves the original wound. It just recreates the pain over and over while you remain unconscious of what you're doing and why. Think about the person who keeps choosing unavailable partners. Every relationship is the same pattern. They fall for someone who can't commit, who's emotionally distant, who keeps them at arm's length. And they tell themselves, this person is different. This time it will work. But it never does. And when that relationship ends, they swear they'll choose differently next time. But they don't. They choose another unavailable person, and another. And they're genuinely confused about why this keeps happening. They think it's bad luck. They think they're attracted to the wrong type. But what's actually happening is that they're unconsciously choosing unavailable partners because unavailable love feels familiar. Because that's what they experienced early in life. Because their psyche is trying to master the original experience of not being chosen, not being seen, not being enough. Every time they choose an unavailable partner, they're unconsciously hoping, this time I'll be the one they choose. This time, my love will be enough to make them stay. This time, I'll finally prove that I'm worthy. But they can't prove it, because the issue was never about their worth. The issue was that the original person, usually a parent, was incapable of showing up fully. And no amount of recreating that dynamic with different people will change what happened originally. All it does is ensure that you keep experiencing the same rejection, the same abandonment, the same feeling of not being enough. Or think about the person who sabotages success. Every time they get close to achieving something meaningful, they do something to destroy it. They stop showing up. They pick a fight with the person supporting them. They make a reckless decision that undermines months of work. And they genuinely don't understand why they keep doing this. They want to succeed. They work hard. But somehow, right at the moment when success is within reach, they sabotage it. And what's actually happening is that success feels dangerous. Because success means change. Success means leaving behind a familiar identity. Success means proving that they're capable, which threatens a core belief about themselves that they're not enough, that they're inadequate, that they don't deserve good things. The self-sabotage protects them from having to face the terror of actually having what they want. Because if they achieve the thing they've been saying they want, and they're still unhappy, then what? Then they have to face the fact that external achievement won't fix what's broken inside them. It's easier to sabotage before reaching the goal so they can maintain the fantasy that if they just achieved it, everything would be okay. The sabotage keeps hope alive by preventing them from discovering that achievement alone won't heal their wounds. Or think about the person who rejects genuine love. Someone kind, available, genuinely interested shows up, and they feel nothing. Or worse, they feel repelled. They find reasons why this person isn't right. Too nice, too available, too interested, not exciting enough, and they push them away. And then they pine for people who treat them poorly, who are inconsistent, who make them anxious. And they tell themselves they just need chemistry, they need passion, they need intensity. But what they're actually doing is rejecting safe love. Because safe love is terrifying. Because if someone genuinely sees them and chooses them, they might have to let down their defenses. They might have to be vulnerable. They might have to receive love. And receiving love means acknowledging that you're worthy of it, which contradicts the core belief established in childhood that you're not. Rejecting genuine love and chasing unavailable love serves a function. It confirms your unworthiness while protecting you from the vulnerability of actually being loved. You get to feel the familiar pain of rejection while avoiding the unfamiliar and terrifying experience of being genuinely chosen and having to believe you deserve it. Freud understood that all of these patterns, choosing unavailable partners, sabotaging success, rejecting genuine love, are forms of self-harm. You are hurting yourself, not by accident, not because you're stupid or broken, but because hurting yourself serves multiple psychological functions that your unconscious has determined are more important than your happiness. The first function is control. If you're going to be hurt, and you believe you are because you were hurt originally, you'd rather be the one controlling when and how the hurt happens. If you sabotage the relationship before they leave, you're in control. If you destroy the opportunity before you fail, you're in control. If you reject love before they reject you, you're in control. The pain is familiar, but at least you're the one inflicting it. At least you're not passive. At least you have agency in your own suffering. The second function is identity maintenance. You have a story about who you are. You're the person who doesn't get chosen. You're the person who fails. You're the person who doesn't deserve love. And as painful as this identity is, it's familiar. It's known. You've built your entire self-concept around it. If you suddenly succeeded, if you were suddenly chosen, if you suddenly received genuine love, you'd have to give up this identity. You'd have to become someone you don't recognize, and that's terrifying. It's easier to hurt yourself and maintain the familiar identity than to succeed and have to become someone new. The third function is protection from hope. Hope is dangerous. If you hope that things could be different and then they're not, the disappointment is devastating. But if you sabotage before hoping, if you hurt yourself before you can be hurt by circumstances, you never have to experience that crushing disappointment. You never have to feel the vulnerability of wanting something and not getting it. You control the narrative, you hurt yourself on your own terms. And while this creates suffering, it's suffering you understand. It's suffering you can predict. It's suffering that feels safer than the vulnerability of genuine hope. The fourth function is loyalty to the past. This is perhaps the darkest function. You hurt yourself because on some unconscious level, you believe you deserve it. You believe that the suffering you experienced was your fault, that you weren't good enough, that if you had been different, you would have been loved properly. And so you remain loyal to that original judgment. You keep proving that you're not enough by ensuring you don't have success, love, happiness. You're unconsciously maintaining fidelity to the people who hurt you originally by continuing to hurt yourself. You're saying, "You were right about me. I don't deserve good things. I'll keep proving it by destroying anything good that comes into my life." Freud saw this pattern as one of the most tragic aspects of human psychology, because the person who is hurting themselves doesn't see it. They experience themselves as wanting happiness, but being unlucky, as wanting love, but choosing wrong, as wanting success, but somehow failing. They have no awareness that they are the architect of their own suffering, that they are unconsciously, systematically, repeatedly choosing to hurt themselves. And because they are unconscious of it, they cannot stop it. The pattern repeats endlessly while they remain confused about why their life isn't working. Breaking this pattern requires something extremely difficult. You have to become conscious of what you're doing. You have to see that you are hurting yourself, not because you're bad or broken, but because at some point, hurting yourself felt safer than the alternatives. You have to recognize the functions that self-sabotage serves. You have to acknowledge that some part of you believes you don't deserve happiness, that success is dangerous, that love is threatening, that hope leads to disappointment. And then you have to make a choice, a conscious choice, to stop. To stop choosing unavailable partners, even though available ones feel boring. To stop sabotaging success, even though success feels scary. To stop rejecting genuine love, even though genuine love requires vulnerability. To stop hurting yourself, even though hurting yourself serves all these protective functions. This choice is terrifying because it means giving up control. It means changing your identity. It means allowing yourself to hope. It means betraying your loyalty to the people who hurt you originally by choosing to be happy despite what they did. It means facing the possibility that you might have what you want and still feel empty, which would force you to do deeper work on your actual wounds rather than maintaining the fantasy that external circumstances are the problem. But this choice is also the only path to freedom. Because as long as you're unconsciously hurting yourself, as long as you're repeating the pattern, you remain trapped. You remain in familiar suffering. You remain loyal to wounds that should have healed decades ago. You remain controlled by experiences that should no longer define you. Freud believed that consciousness was the key, that once you could see what you were doing and why, you could choose differently, that bringing the unconscious pattern into awareness gave you the power to interrupt it. Not easily, not perfectly, but progressively. Each time you recognize the urge to sabotage, the pull toward unavailable love, the impulse to reject something good, you have a choice point. You can follow the familiar pattern, or you can choose differently. And each time you choose differently, each time you allow yourself to receive love, even though it's scary, each time you let success happen, even though it changes your identity, each time you stay present with hope, even though disappointment is possible, you break the pattern a little bit more. You teach your unconscious that you don't have to keep hurting yourself, that there are other ways to feel safe, that you can have a different identity, that you can be loyal to your own healing rather than to your own suffering. The question is whether you're willing to see it, whether you're willing to acknowledge that you are hurting yourself, that your suffering is not entirely inflicted by external circumstances, but is something you are participating in creating, that you have more agency than you think, which means you also have more responsibility, that your life could be different if you stopped the pattern, that happiness is possible if you stop rejecting it. This is hard to accept. It's much easier to believe you're a victim of circumstances, of bad luck, of other people's choices. It's much easier to remain unconscious of your own role in your suffering. But remaining unconscious means remaining stuck, means continuing to hurt yourself for the rest of your life, means never accessing the happiness, love, and success that are actually possible for you if you would just stop sabotaging them. Freud knew why you can't stop hurting yourself emotionally. It's not because you're broken. It's because hurting yourself serves functions that your unconscious believes are more important than your happiness. It gives you control. It maintains your identity. It protects you from hope. It keeps you loyal to your wounds. And until you see these functions clearly, until you acknowledge that you are choosing this pattern even though you're doing it unconsciously, you cannot stop it. But when you do see it, when you become conscious of what you're doing and why, you gain the power to choose differently, to stop hurting yourself, to allow good things into your life, to receive love, to achieve success, to hope, to finally, after years or decades of self-sabotage, give yourself permission to be happy. And that permission, that choice, that consciousness, that's where healing begins. That's where the pattern finally breaks. That's where you finally stop being your own worst enemy and become your own best advocate. The repetition compulsion only has power when it's unconscious. The moment you see it, you can change it. The question is, are you ready to see it? Are you ready to acknowledge that you've been hurting yourself? Are you ready to understand why? And are you ready to choose differently? Because your happiness is possible. Your healing is possible. Your freedom is possible. but only if you stop hurting yourself. Only if you finally choose yourself instead of choosing suffering. Only if you break the pattern that Freud understood so well, the pattern of unconsciously recreating the pain of the past in the desperate, futile hope that this time it will turn out differently. When you stop hurting yourself emotionally, you finally start living. Not perfectly, not without challenges, but authentically, freely, with genuine possibility instead of predetermined suffering. And that life, that real life, is waiting for you on the other side of consciousness. On the other side of seeing what you've been doing and choosing to stop. That's what Freud knew. That's what he spent his career trying to help people understand. And that's what's available to you if you're brave enough to face yourself and finally, truly, stop hurting yourself.